This video is to explain centering. When you're working on a potter's wheel, centering is the cornerstone of everything that you do. This ball of clay that you start with has to be exactly in the middle of the wheel. It has to be symmetrical, it has to be balanced in order to turn this into something. So I've already wedged this clay. I'm just going to attach it to the wheel now. And when I get it on there, what I have to do is spend some time shaping it and compacting it down onto the wheel without flattening it out. So there's different methods for doing that. I just put it on there and just kind of pat it and turn it at the same time. And then to help hold it down, I'll drag my finger right along the edge where the clay meets the bat and seal it down. And sealing it down like that helps hold the clay down, but it also helps keep water from going underneath of it. If you get any water underneath of it, the clay is going to pop loose for sure. All right, so we're ready to spin the wheel up. So full speed. You get your hands wet, get some water on there. And then what you need to do is cup this hand. This is 6 o'clock right here. You're going to put your palm of your hand right at 6 o'clock. Your opposite hand will go on the other side. And then your elbow is locked in on your hip. And you lean into it, push forward. And when you get the pressure just right, the clay will start to move up into that kind of a shape. So make sure your hands stay wet. And when that clay starts to move, you slide your hands up, 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 and right off. While you do that, you gotta pay attention to how much pressure you're putting on the clay. If you squeeze too hard, the clay is gonna tear off in your hands. If you don't squeeze hard enough, the clay won't move. Some more water. Now I need to bring this back down into the ball shape. So I'm gonna shift a little bit. I'm gonna cup this hand. I'm gonna lock my thumb down so I have my hand cupped. That hand goes up against the clay, so I'm pushing in this kind of a direction and down. My right hand is gonna be like a karate chop, and I'm gonna take my right hand and I'm gonna put it up against my left hand like that. And then I'm gonna bear down. I'm gonna get my elbows locked in on my legs, and I'm pushing down and in. When this part of my hand touches the wheel, I take my other hand and I just kind of roll it back. And you can see that the clay gets pushed closer and closer to center each time I do this. So a lot of people ask me when we get to this stage, well, how many times do I have to cone and compress to get the clay on center? And the answer is it's going to be different for everybody every time. Some people will get this down and they'll be able to cone it up, bring it back down, do it all in one move. Some people will have to do it 100 times before they learn how to do it. It's different for everybody, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. And like everything else, it's trial and error. It's experience. If you watch somebody like me who's been doing this for over 20 years, I can make it look really easy. But if you watch somebody who's only been doing this for a few days, it looks like the hardest struggle they've ever encountered. So you just have to take your time and be patient with yourself. And when you get that clay centered, you're going to know it, because what will happen is you'll be able to put your hands on the clay like this, and if you watch your fingers will hold perfectly still as they glide across the surface of the clay. If your hands move around like that, then that means the clay is not centered. So then before I move to the next step, I just want to get this all cleaned up. Make sure my surface of my wheel stays clean. kind of smooth out or clean up the surface of the clay. And then I can move on to the next step.